Hey everybody, what's up? Jordan here. If you're new with your Twitch, probably know me as I'm your man. Today we're going to be taking a look at a top 15 Masters deck that is hyper aggro, very low to the ground, so aggro that it's even more aggressive than the Noxus Spiders Darius decks that have been running around on the ladder. And we're not going to waste any time. Let's jump right in. Alright, what we're looking at right here is a Noxus Piltover aggro deck that has been all over the ladder and an absolute tear, and all the way ran up to top 15 in Masters, done so by Griffin CLE, which might be the greatest Family Guy name that's ever come about in sports, just combining both of them. In sports, yeah, even in sports, it's the greatest Family Guy name ever. You can see here the deck's hosted on Legends of Runeterra. You can find a link to it in that website with a lot of great decks in the description below. But this deck, the first couple of impressions right out of the gate, only one champion, Draven. A lot of these Noxious Piltover aggro decks you see also run the Jinx package and a lot of discard effects to get Jinx flipped. This deck is too fast for Jinx, which is saying something. Jinx is a long-term plan in the context of this deck. This deck really is just low to the ground with Draven as its top end of its curve for the most part, and focusing heavily on the 1-drops. As you can see here, there's 9 1-drops in the deck. Legion Rearguard, this deck is not meant to block. Legion Rearguard, who says he forgot his sword, but he really meant to stay his shield. Legion Rearguard in the deck. Legion Saboteur, if it's not attacking, it's nothing. Mathis for blockers. And Precious Pet, which is just an evasive, low-to-the-ground threat that gets through on turns 1 and 2 with no problem. So you can see right from the first 4 cards and the absence of Jinx from the deck, this deck is not planning on going to round 5, round 6. This deck is planning on having you dead by that point. Some of the other inclusions in the deck, Boom Crew Rookie. This is such an efficient 2-drop for the aggro decks. It's almost always attacking for 2. It's a good blocker in the event that you randomly need it, even though blocking is not what we're doing with this deck. But it's got a beefy body on it, and it's at least always going to be good for 4 damage in most circumstances. I haven't particularly played with Crimson Disciple outside of Expeditions, which rip Expeditions, but dealing 2 every time it takes damage is a really interesting effect, and as a 2-drop 2/3, it's really efficient in its body on its own, so its text is actually just a great upside for this card. Like I said, I've never played with it, but if Griffin CLE's been killing it in Masters with it, I don't know more than him about it. He looks like he's tested with it, and I think this is going to be a thing that I'm going to try it on the ladder because it does fit the game plan of this deck very well. Even if you block it, you're still at least taking 2 points of damage. Next card is Legion Grenadier. Very similar thing as Crimson Disciple. Even if you block it, you're taking some damage. It's a beefy body as a 3/1. Not really beefy so much as it's an aggressive body, I guess I should say, as a 3/1. But even if you block it and kill it, you're still taking 3 damage. So worst case scenario, you're playing 2 damage, 2 mana to deal 3 damage, which is a better rate than, say, Get Excited, which we will talk about the lack of here in a minute. The next card is Used Casket. Jeez, that's aggressive. Used Cask Salesman. Used Cask Salesman makes the 2 0/1 bodies that when they die, they deal damage. So again, another card that even if it does nothing else, it's going to deal at least 2 points of damage. It comes as a 3/2, and sometimes you can get a little frisky and attack with the 0/1s and pump them with your combat tricks, which we'll talk about in a second. But for the most part, this is a good finisher late game. At the very least, like I said, it does 2 points of damage. And the guys can come in and block if they need to and still get that damage gain. So it's a very efficient utility card in these aggro decks. Choke Pulp is kind of the outstander in this deck, and we'll talk about it a little more in context, but it is like the finisher of this deck style. As a 4/3, it's the biggest body in the deck. It doesn't hit as strong as it used to as a 4/4, but it's still fine in its own right as a 4/3. And if you can spike 1 or 2 damage off of the Mushroom Capsule you'll put in your opponent's deck, it's a pretty good rate. They are also good discard effects for Draven's axes if you need the access to that. Blade's Edge is a really good finisher. Deals with small annoying creatures that stand in the way to block, and it also deals with pesky things like Teemo. Blade's Edge actually does a lot more than you might think in this deck, or when you just look at the card in general, you think, okay, well, it deals 1 damage. How great can it be? Well, there's so many X1s in this format. Take like Legion Grenadier, for example, where I just need to kill that thing and get on with my life and keep attacking. And we just need to keep blasting, you know? And that's the philosophy behind Blade's Edge, is that it clears the way. And then a lot of the times it is a finisher. Hey, you're at 1, you're at 2, and look how many Blade's Edges I have, kill you. So it's a nice little utility card. I do like that he only plays 2 here because of the limited effect that it can have in a lot of situations. The card's great when it's great, and it's fine when it's not. But there are situations where, like, man, I wish it had anything other than Blade's Edge, like a ham sandwich, honey roasted, not smoked. Honey roasted ham sandwich would be better than a Blade's Edge. Rummage is a great card. You see the discard packages of Jinx a little bit more prominently, where it fills a bit more of a larger role. We still do see 3 copies here, and that's mostly just to get some of the fluff. Like, you're going to have Draven's Axes running around that could be turned into better cards. You're going to have Chump Wump cards that could be turned into better cards with the Mushroom Clouds. If you don't end up casting this for value, those Blade's Edges we just talked about that weren't necessarily good in all of the situations, well, guess what? We just turned them into better cards with the Rummage. You don't have the discard effect like you do, obviously, in the Jinx package like we talked about, but Rummage still fills that role here of providing card draw for a deck that otherwise lacks a lot of card draw. Mystic Shot, just, I don't know what you could say about Mystic Shot. 2-mana deal 2. I'm gonna stutter over Mystic Shot. It's a 2-mana deal 2, and it's efficient. It's a staple in any Piltover's on deck, and it really does most of the work for you. In either finishing the game, clearing bigger threats that Blade's Edge can't deal with, or comboing with your quick attack guys like Draven. I mentioned Get Excited earlier that this isn't the discard package, so that you're not really relying on that discard one, but it's still a deal 3. It goes directly to the face. It's a strong hyper-aggressive card as well, and it really does, again, work well with all of these different effects that you see here on the board. Draven being the big one because it interacts with its quick attack. Blade's Edge is a good discard target, and if any one of these cards isn't currently suiting your fancy, well, that's great. Get Excited deals with it. There's not a lot to say about it, and I feel like I'm kind of hammering it up more than it needs to be because it's just clearly a good card on its face. You've seen it on ladder, and you know why that it's good. 3 mana, deal 3 to anything at fast speed is important in these low to ground hyper aggro decks. Next card is Static Shock. Static Shock's a little bit of an interesting inclusion. Not saying it's bad, and you can see why there's only 2 copies of it in here as opposed to the full 3. It's just that it's a slower card than this deck typically wants to use. And I say that in a kind of a tongue-in-cheek kind of manner because it still is just like 4 mana in a game that's you quickly accumulate mana and it does draw you more cards. But 4 mana deal 1 is not as strong as, for example, 3 mana deal 3 and 2 mana deal 2. Where in this deck, this card is often a 4 mana deal 1 to 2 different things. And that's what it is in every deck. But you're not going to be finishing the game with this card often. You might be lucky enough to get some cute interactions with Draven and his quick attack, like we talked about a lot. And it might be good to clear some blockers out of the way, and that's what you're going to primarily use it for. But I think you'll understand why that this is a 2 copy inclusion as opposed to a 3 copy inclusion because of, say, the Get Excited or the Mystic Shot, because it is so much more limited in what it can do. And the full 3 copies of Decimate, this is how you know that we're not here to play games, we're not here to block, we're just here to attack you and get you to 8 and then kill you with Decimates. I love it, and it's so on brand for this deck. A lot of decks would shy away from the 3 Decimates here because, well, they're so dead cards if you're behind. This deck isn't talking about being behind. It's saying, what, turn 5 and we're not killing him? What's the point? What's the point of living if we're not killing him on turn 5, Draven's saying here. So these 3 copies of Decimate are actually going to be really important to finishing out a lot of games. You're going to kill people from 8 with Decimate more often than not, and I bet you'll kill somebody from 12 with Decimate once or twice in your lifetime, so that would be a really cool inclusion. All in all, this deck is really good if you want to play an efficient aggro deck that is good on your time. It's good on your brain, because while aggro decks are hard, there's a little less decision making involved in this deck because we're just going to start blasting. And I mentioned good on your time, and that's the big one too, is when you're laddering or when you're just trying to rank up, getting games in as quickly as possible is great. And if you're trying to get in under all of those Ezreal and all of those spooky Karma decks that are running around out there, this is the deck to do it. While your opponent's over there messing around, drawing cards, you're going to be putting them to 0 before they know it. I'm going to try this deck out on the ladder. I haven't tested it yet. I've played the Jinx version a lot, and I stumbled across this on Runeterra today, and I thought, well, I really need to get my hands on this, and I'm going to go build this later today and try it out. I hope you do too. The deck code is going to be in the link in the description below, so I hope you try it out with me. Hey, that's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in and checking it out. Like I said, I hope you try out the Mono-Draven deck. The link, again, is in the description below. If you liked the video, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, tell me what you liked about it in the comments below. If you didn't like it, let me know why. I'm trying to improve these. I'm trying to get better at my YouTube video making. I'm trying to be a better resource for people and try to learn something along the way. So I would love to talk to you about it. If you want to talk more about this stuff, you can come find me on twitch.tv/I'mJerban on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursday evenings. A link to that is in the description below as well. But otherwise, I'll see you guys out there and have a great rest of your day.